It's a way of life for me now. You know, that you never really get away from it. It's always there, even when you're going out for a walk. You know, you're always looking at things. But art, like sticking a banana to a wall. You know, am I not intelligent enough to get that? But it's just, some of these things is just ridiculous. Like, you know, for me, art is just, and for most of the people that buy my art, for my paintings, is like they want something nice for their house. You know, they see something in it that sometimes it brings back memories of stuff, especially those old cottages and stuff. Saying, "Oh, it reminds me of my granny. I remember her living in a house like that." Just getting the measurements right was a difficult thing. But these here, this is just for the canvas. It's not; these are not hard to make. You know. My name is Conor Larkin. I'm a landscape artist, stroke musician, but mainly landscapes. I've been at it professionally, I would say 10 or 11 years now, but I've been painting for about 15 years now, but full-time professional 10 years. It was something I've always done. From as a wee boy, I always liked to do drawings and stuff. I've started making my own canvases now, and that'd be the first thing I would do, get my canvas made up. When I left school, I got a job then in a signwriting place, doing signwriting for like bands and shop signs and stuff. And I thought that was going to be my career, but then the fellow I worked for died, so I ended up working in the butcher shop. But in the back burner, the whole thing was I wanted to do some sort of painting at some stage. So I left the butchers and went to try and do A-level art. And that sort of fell to pieces as well, because I'd left school, you see, and I was working, I was making money, and then suddenly went back to try and do my A-level. I was making no money, it was just hard, and so just ended up going back to butchers again. This is linen from Clark's of Uplands. I bought a roll of it. Then I travelled a bit and I'd done Australia and America and all that. When I come home then I got a job working in a glass studio, making stained glass windows, and I enjoyed that. I'd done that for about 6 or 7 years. And then I just started painting and I was selling them. So then I just said, well, take the plunge here, what to do. I still doing it, a few paintings at night, you know, working home from work. I just said one day, to hell, I'll try it. And thank God I haven't looked back since. And that was 10 years ago, as I say, 11 years ago. What can happen is it can go very, very loose if you're not watching yourself. As young as I can remember, I was always able to draw, you know. I won an art competition at school one time for painting a cottage and just be things like that sort of spur you on, you know, and encouragement from different people. I had a good friend, Tommy McGoldrick. He was an artist from Resharkin. Somebody like Tommy to tell you to do what you're doing it right, and just keep on going. That's definitely a help. That's what I'm painting there. That was it. Yeah. Not going to art school and stuff like that there, I think I was lacking a bit of confidence because of that. It's the slightest wee thing that somebody might say sometime to you about something you're painting, or something, say, oh, that's a bit, put you in a wobble completely. Get the coat on there. There, nice and neat. It's a hard one, you know, you just have to sort of get over it and get on with it, and some half-time people that are telling you these things can't paint themselves, so why am I worried about what these people think? Like, some of the colours were really hard to get back in the day when the old masters were painting, you know, like cobalt and stuff like that.
Is there any specific brands of paint you like using?
It's just that Winsor Newton stuff it's not the dearest and it's not the cheapest, but was my job. When I was younger, I was like doing these drawings and paintings and stuff and giving them to people, you know. I didn't think they were worth anything, and then it was actually with the first painting that I sold, and sort of that gave me a good boost of confidence, because I was like, Jesus, somebody actually looking to buy this. As I say, didn't go to art school, so I wouldn't have been into artists and stuff like that, you know. I knew about Van Gogh and read a few books on him and stuff like that, but I wouldn't have been really into art. Could always paint painted creamery cans and stuff one time. I was a bit stretched for money, and I used to sell them around flats and stuff. And used to fill the Jeep up with tin buckets and stuff that I'd painted, you know, like folk art. And I was making money at that stage too, just to try and get by. I don't think of it as art. I don't see myself as an artist. I'm a painter, okay, but I'm not going to be going and strapping any bananas to the wall anytime soon, I don't think. Well, that's just a penalty. Unless somebody wants to give me a few pounds for sticking a banana to the wall. I suppose just getting your work out there, you know, in the first place is the biggest challenge, I suppose. But I hadn't been on Facebook, but I'd been painting. And then I got this Facebook page going, and it really took off. Just like that, just got so many likes. And the first night I put paintings up, and the way I done it was I had a pile of photographs of paintings I had, and I just put them all in one go. And I think maybe sort of people just liked it then because there were so many paintings to look at. And then after that, I was putting the painting up a week, and just grew from there. It depends what it is too, you know. As I say, you think you know it all, and then you go to paint one and it just does not fucking work for you. You think, what the fuck is going on? Have I lost this? You know what I mean? You get actual thoughts like that. Like, I can't do this anymore.
Do you think you're going to paint sort of to your last days, or do you think you're going to
I've no other choice. I don't have no other pension plan. That's me. Well, a lot of people, when they retire, start painting. Like, you know what I mean?
You're just getting ahead of it.
So I just can paint away when I retire. It's not, you don't get a killing, like, you know. And then during lockdown, I done this wee painting class, live painting class, and that got a lot of attention as well, you know. It's actually easier to work on a bigger canvas than it is a wee small thing. I hate working too small because it just gets too footery. And I do a lot of work with knives and stuff, so once the canvas gets too small, it just gets too bigger canvas. You can go crazy. I see something. I could be out with walking the dog and I see something, especially when the sun's out. But you could see something that you'd be walking past 100 times, you know, and then suddenly one day you see something. What I'd do then is I would take a wee sketch of that. And if it's something that you really like, you're really excited to get painting it, I would just come home and start painting it straight away. Sculptures there. That one there, I would say it was probably 2 or 3 years for that one. So if you have a painting from, say, 2002 to about 2006, some of your works and some of your paintings on that, it's just the rubbish, you know, from my board. I would say that was probably 3 or 4 years, but that one there was definitely about 3 or 4 years. I think that one there was about a year's work. When you're in a painting and you're just lost in it, it's very similar to getting lost while playing guitar. And you can sit down and play guitar for, I think you're sitting for 10 minutes, next thing you've sat for 2 hours, you know. And it's a similar place in your head. I'll come out here and get the fire lit and just play, just to try and get into that zone, I suppose you'd call it. And that helps, you know, especially if I'm working on one, I'll just sit and play the guitar and look at it and you see all these wee things that you have to do to it. So I sit and play guitar and just look at it, and then all of a sudden I could just burst up and start painting, you know. So that's how the music sort of ties me into it. I just find it's the same headspace. A good coat of Larkin, as somebody says, give it a good coat of Larkin, so.
I don't think I ever thanked you for So I thank you.
This is just a rough early days, you know, this. Like I'll be painting the sky and all again, like just to sort of get the canvas covered is always very important. It takes the fear out of it, if you know what I mean. When you have it blocked in, rather than looking at a big white canvas. Through painting, it's a solitary sort of thing, you know. I don't deal with any galleries or anything like that, so I usually just try and have an exhibition a year, once a year of my own. And I don't really be meeting many like-minded people, except for when Tommy was alive. I'd have went out and visited him, or he would come out here. We just sat and chatted most of the time. Tommy was great crack. There's Tommy there. And he was the most creative person I suppose I've ever known. But he was a boyo. He was just funny, you know, a real dry wit. Tommy, when he was growing up, his mentor was Charlie Macaulay, who's a very famous Glens of Antrim painter. I suppose Tommy saw me then, or himself and me then, when I was, because Tommy didn't start till he was very late either. He was a cobbler and he'd done lots of different things like me. Then he started going over to Charlie Macaulay and then he started painting. So it definitely helped me, you know. And I think it's good, going back to the confidence thing too, you know, if Tommy says you're doing it right and it's good, and you'd have to be happy with that. Like. What Tommy used to say to me was, you know, just keep doing it, you know, if you get bad days, just paint, just keep on paint through it. So that was the only sort of advice I would have for anybody if they're thinking of doing it, is just to stick at it and find your style. And Tommy never really showed me how to paint or anything like that, you know, it was more just encouragement. You know, he wouldn't have sat down and said to me, right, this is how this is painted and do this way. It was just more like when we're out to chat, he would chat about what a certain colour will do for something. But most of the time it was just having the crack with him. Because him and his wife Mary was here. I was saying just having trouble with roads, you know. So we got a canvas and Tommy started painting this painting. And Mary was telling him, you know, put something in there and do something there and put this here. And we went, all right, Mary. Mm-hmm. And then he just goes, you know, Mary usually paints these and I just sign them. It's just as that sort of dry humour with him all the time. So this is the painting that Tommy came and done, you know, and I mean that was like 5 minutes. All right, it's not finished, but it was just giving me an idea of the colour of the road. Mary gave me that after he died, and I would say that's a homemade yoke now. But imagine how many paintings come off that, sir, you know. And I was wondering, was he painting something before he died, and that was his last mix of stuff. But Mary gave me that. Tommy's palette. The whole palette knife thing was because I was very messy. I just couldn't sort of look after brushes and stuff, you know. I'd have been painting something and then I saw something outside and we were outside after it and come back and the brush is rock hard, you know, so I thought this is palette knife, you can just clean it off, you know. And I liked the texture you were getting from it and I liked the speed. And I suppose because I was a butcher, I suppose you know, I always had a knife in the hand and palette knife was I suppose the next step from butchering.
Singing from the heart, and I scare my friends and my family as they watch me come apart. And I feel so calm and so free when I'm in my six-string company. Melodies build castles in fame as the sorrow goes away with the rain. The sunshine lights the meadow as the rainbow paints the air. And I'm feeling much better now, even though you're not here. I'm feeling better now, though you're not here. September took your soul away as the green gave your friends and family.
I think it's just with age you learn stuff, you know, and you find easier ways of doing it. Because I'm not taught, and as I've been doing this myself, so you have to try and teach yourself, and usually the best way to teach yourself is just to making a few mistakes here and there, you know, and then you know not to do that again. You know, quite a few mistakes. That's all part of it, you know, and you never stop learning, you know. Every day you've come up with something new, or idea, or quicker way of doing something. But that one comment of that woman saying, you know, we thought the skies was too heavy, I was just painting the whole picture with the palette now. But now I've painted the skies with a brush, making them finer, more like a sky. The other way it was too heavy, you know. But at this stage, there's not really much more I can do to it until it dries a bit, you know, before I get the next coat on. Another thing I do is I put it at the window and go outside and look at it. This is stupid, like, but this is one of my things that I look at. It's like, if that was in a shop window, would you stop and look at it, or would you walk on past it? I just stand out there in the garden and look at it and think, right, that's done. Try and getting the composition right from day one. That's what I say when I see something, I take a wee sketch, and it's just a wee thumbnail sketch, you know, just to see if it's going to work in a canvas, you know, and usually the rule of thirds for my composition. But mistaking then when you're painting, you can paint over it, you know. Bob Ross used to say, just happy little accidents, and it's true, like, you know. And sometimes a mistake is like, oh wow, look at that. You let it stay. Thankfully, I haven't made any mistakes career-wise yet. You know, I think I'm cruising along nicely and just trying to maintain it.
Come on out from behind your veil, it's time to tell your sorry tale. Like the morning without the sun, we are the summer that did not come. Like the winter without the snow, we are the spring that nothing grows. So break down those walls.
Where did you pick that up?
I was trying to paint them, you know, going in circles, and I thought, something just going round, and I thought, drill. I use it for other things too that's circular, you know. Say, you know, you're always looking for the handiest route out. There's stuff that I've started and realised, you know, this is just not working. Like 3 or 4 hours and you just start saying to yourself, right, this is just not going to work here. I had one at the exhibition there last year, and it's been lying in the studio for about 3 years, just kicking about. I finally finished it, you know, and I thought at the start that it wasn't right, but I realised now what was wrong with it was I just didn't know how to do it. So it took me 3 years of painting. It was of the Halfpenny Bridge in Dublin, and it took me 3 years just to work out how to paint the water. I used to be scared of water, you know, and now I love it now, you know what I mean? At the start, very few paintings that are done would have much water in them. I'd been scared of mountains too, so was at the start. If it's a challenge, you know, it makes it more enjoyable too. You know, if you can, like every painting, you think you've done it all. You know, And then you go to paint another one and you're like, why is this one not working? I've done something similar to this last week, but I can't get this to work. And sometimes, you wrestle with them, and you paint and you get it. And then you just have to sort of park it for a few days and let it sit about and just look at it, And sometimes you could look at it and go, oh, there's the wee thing there, it needs fixed. And it could be as simple as that, just one touch, and that's it, done. It's just all a learning game. When you start your painting from the sky down, you know it's done, sort of thing. But you can go over the top and not know and overdo it and do it again. I've seen me doing that. I've seen me taking a photograph of it and then going to touch some wee part of it, and then the next thing you know, you've the whole thing painted again, and then you look at your photograph and go, you were done there. That last 3 years there was just a waste of time, and you could lose it, but you try and bring it back to where you're at the first time. The main thing in the picture is what you're trying to pull out, but you can get lost in the detail in the foreground and stuff like that, and I suppose the best way to do it is just to let it sit for a few days, and if you do think, oh, it needs a bit of a change, just don't do it right then. Just park it for a day or two and look at it in your peripheral, and it'll come to you. Sometimes it comes to you, you wake up in the morning, first thing, it's just a wee light bulb moment, and usually when you're lying in bed in the morning, that's when they seem to clear up for you. Or I get my wife out and I say, what do you think? That's there. And she has an set of eyes. It's very important, because you're looking at it and looking at it and looking at it, and you don't notice any changes in it. But she could go in the house and say, or come out in 2 hours and say, oh, I think that's finished. For me, I wish I had started earlier, but all the things just weren't in line for me at the time. I'd got the whole travelling thing out of the system, got the house here, which I needed, and so everything sort of came into place in my 40s, I suppose. But advice for younger people is don't be listening too much, and don't be worrying about too much what people think and say.
Rise up this morning, smile with the rising sun. 3 little birds inside my doorstep, singing sweet songs, melodies pure and true, singing, this is my message to you, singing now.
Well, I like the sunsets, and I just like knowing about painted sunsets, But legacy, I haven't really thought too much into that. Don't know what my legacy is going to be. But hopefully, I'll be about for a day or two after I'm brown bread, hopefully, There we go.
Did you take up as a job? You're good at it.
What's that now?
Painting.
Should A wee bit of wallpaper too, maybe. Just cut it off the painting.